Okay, so the title of today's webinar is Enhanced Teaching and Engaged Student Learning with the BenQ Board. Again, I am your host, Cooper Harrison. I'm on the marketing team here at BenQ, and we're going to be turning over the presentation here shortly to Lauren McMillian. She is one of our newest FAEs. She is a former teacher, so she brings classroom experience and the knowledge of BenQ all in one. And so she's going to hit the deep dive on some of these features I'm going to highlight, and I'm just going to hit the top level, and we'll get going. So number one, your data. Your data is exclusively yours, all yours. All user accounts are separate, so nobody else can see anything you're doing. We take data and privacy very seriously here at BenQ, so I think you'll enjoy that benefit. It comes with it. Your very own space. Each teacher gets their very own personalized account. So no matter where you log into a BenQ board, your settings, your bookmarks, and your folders will follow you throughout the school. Very, very cool feature, and Lauren will be highlighting that shortly. Present your way. Yes.
Hey, sorry, could you go into presentation mode? Because we're having a hard time seeing all the stuff on your screen.
Let me hit it again.
There we go. Thank you so much.
Oh. Okay. I'll keep going. You can see present your way, correct, Lauren?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So the next feature, right? Present your way, right? You can see the teacher. We want you to teach your way. And obviously you have to present your way. Accessing files through AMS, one of our features here, is one way for pre-planned lesson plans, or if you want to download content from the web. Either way, it's your option. We want you to have that flexibility. Share your way, right? InstaShare is our wireless screen sharing software. Very, very cool. Lauren's going to go into that. You can share up to 9 devices on a BenQ board. Whiteboard your way, right? EZWrite. If you've never seen EZWrite, it is our whiteboarding software. It's super cool. It's really going to engage with students. Lauren's going to go into this. It's going to be able to write and draw, do math, interactive games, help select students to answer questions. Again, if you've never seen EZWrite, it comes subscription free. When you buy the board, you get it for the life of the board. It's super, super cool. And then cloud whiteboarding. Activating cloud whiteboarding extends to students that aren't there, that are learning remotely. So you get a lot of flexibility here with BenQ and whiteboarding. And then finally, the Google experience. The RP04 gives you the best possible experience by combining BenQ software with the official Google services for education. Okay, Lauren, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to stop sharing. Let's make sure.
All right. Thanks so much, Cooper. So like you said, my name is Lauren. I am one of the trainers for BenQ. I'm a field application engineer, so I do a lot of school visits, I do training, I do troubleshooting, and I'm so excited to come to you today to talk about some of the exciting features of the BenQ board to really help enhance learning and student engagement. One thing I want to mention, the very last slide Cooper said about the Google experience. The board that I am working on today is our RP0504. So this board is fully Google certified. So we have the Google Play Store and we have all of the Google apps directly on the board. A lot of the things I'm going to discuss today does not require this model board. So regardless of which model you may have in your classroom or at your school or in your district, the features I'm going to point out today are available on almost all of our model boards. But with that being said, some of the ways to get to the same features that I'm going to talk about might be slightly different, but know that most of what I'm going to target today will be applicable to all the panels. With that being said, whether you are a teacher or maybe an instructional coach or an IT or an administrator, I'm so glad that you're here today. I really want everybody to kind of put on the lens of how this piece of technology can really be utilized in a classroom to get students more engaged and involved in the learning. One thing as a former educator is that teachers don't have a whole lot of time. There's not a whole lot of time to prepare. There's not enough time to do all the things that need to be done. And if you notice, there's a little bit of a pattern in those slides that Cooper shared where everything is your way. One of the big things that we really focus on at BenQ is you being able to use all of the resources that you already have. We are not expecting... Yeah.
Hey, Lauren, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Is there a way you can make your screen as a presenter screen so everybody could see full screen? Right now, you're just showing as a thumbnail.
So you can right click on my image and click pin for me. That will make it large on your screen.
Got it.
So that goes for all of y'all. Sorry, I did mean to mention that at the beginning. Yeah, if I'm little and you can't see me, just right click on my picture and click pin for me and it'll be big screen for you. So that should help. Because I don't have the option to pick speaker view on mine. Okay. Hopefully that's a little bit better. We're good. We're going to keep going. Okay, great.
Yep.
So as I was saying, I want you all to kind of have that lens of thinking about all of the things and the requirements that you as teachers and those of you that support teachers, we want you to really be able to take what you already have and pair it with this piece of technology to really make your learning go so much further in the classroom. So I am going to speak to a few features in some various apps on the board. I'll stop at the end of each one and give y'all some time to kind of process and ask any questions about that specific thing that I've discussed. So, but in the meantime, please feel free to put some questions in the chat as well. The first thing I want to start with is really just a basic thing of being able to make your board your own. So one thing you'll notice on my board here is that I have customized my background to how I want it to look. I've added a little calendar on my board because I want to keep track of my dates. I've got only 3 apps on the board that are visible at this moment because I like for things to be organized. The things that I use all the time, I want to have easy access. This is something that can be done by just easily clicking on an app and dragging, and that's one way that you can easily customize your board. It doesn't matter which board you log into, whether it's the board in your classroom or your teacher's next door. However you customize your account and how you build your board, it will be that way no matter what room you go in. So I know a lot of times teachers have to cover classes or maybe you share rooms. This is a great feature, being able to really customize those things to fit your needs. So things that you want to have easy access to. Another customizable element that is really helpful is being able to add bookmarks. So I have a list here of bookmarks that I've actually pre-added into my AMS, which is all my stuff. And y'all can use your board login to access all of this through ams.benq.com. And I can go in and I can customize all of my bookmarks. So I don't have to open Chrome and type in ClassLink or type in math tools. I can go in and grab those websites that I use all the time, the curriculum resources that I have to access all of the time, and just build it into a bookmark. That makes it so I can just quickly tap on a bookmark and it's going to take me straight to that website. I don't have to spend a whole lot of time searching and hunting for that because, again, there's not really enough time in the classroom. You'll notice that it did open up in a Chrome browser. I don't know if you can see super well, but there are actually some other tabs already open. This is a feature that is really great, that it follows your journey. So this board was turned off overnight. This morning I came in, opened it up. All of these tabs were already there. So that works the same for your teacher login as well. These things will stay open until you go in and close them out. So no longer are the days of having to go back to your computer, pull everything up, get everything set up for that class, and pick up where you left off yesterday, because it will all still be here right where you left off yesterday. All of those customizable features that I just mentioned are all within AMS. So some of your boards say AMS files and some of your boards might say file manager. When you click on that, this is really just being able to access the files that you may have saved to your board, as well as any cloud services that you have set up. So if you have OneDrive or Dropbox or Google Drive and several others, you can actually link those accounts through your AMS account online as well. So now you can see I'm clicking on Google Drive and my shared drive, and here are all of my resources that I can access easily when needed. But I can also save things from the board to that drive as well. And I'm going to show you how that will look here in a little bit. The first real big feature I want to talk about today is in our EZWrite app. So EZWrite is our digital whiteboard. A lot of people have already figured out how to use this whiteboard. Even if you're only using the BenQ board as a whiteboard, you're still doing a lot. But I want to show you some of the features in EZWrite that can really take your teaching to the next level. So a few things about our EZWrite software. You are able to download this as an app through the Google Play Store if you have a tablet, or the Apple Store on an iPad. And you can also download the software directly to your computer from our BenQ website as well. The reason you might want to download that software if you haven't already is because it allows you to either prepare lessons ahead of time or make some edits during your planning time or at home, and then the next day you can pick up where you left off. You can. So one thing I want to point out is that by having that software ahead of time, I'm able to really kind of, instead of starting on the fly all the time with a blank slate, I can actually build some lessons ahead of time. So what I'm doing right now is I'm opening a lesson from my Google Drive that I have saved. So I have saved a lesson. I'm accessing my Google Drive right here. And now I'm pulling in an EZWrite lesson that has already been created ahead of time. I didn't have to make this on the fly. I could, but I was able to save some time by doing this ahead of time. Now, this lesson is ready to have students come up to the board and model their use and knowledge of 10 frames. So that's one benefit of downloading the software ahead of time so that you can build some of those resources. Now, if I'm in the middle of a lesson, and we always know there's fire drills and there are assemblies and things that happen, and I'm in the middle of this lesson and I want to continue where I left off tomorrow, I can, that same icon, this hamburger menu at the bottom, I can also save this. I have a lot of options for saving my EZWrite files. I can save it as a PDF, which is incredible to be able to annotate your lessons throughout the day and then be able to save it as a PDF with all of your images and your notes and be able to drop it immediately into Seesaw or Google Classroom or Canvas. Because now those students who may have been absent, students who need to go back and look, or even for test review, all of those resources, I can save this as a PDF. So even though there might be multiple pages, I've got different options. I can also save it as an EZWrite file. That is one that I always like to point out if you want to continue editing this. So maybe I want to add to it because tomorrow I might want to include another slide. Okay, so I want to continue editing this lesson. I'm going to save it as an EZWrite file to my Google Drive or my OneDrive or even the board itself so I can go back in and I can continue editing the next day. Along with being able to support student learning by sharing these resources with them via Google Classroom or Schoology, whichever learning management system y'all use, we do also have a screen record feature on here that allows you to record everything you're doing on the screen. So even if I started in EZWrite, I'm going to start my video recording. You'll see here it's counting up because I'm recording. And so now I can walk through my lesson of how to do my multiplication. Okay, it's going to record everything I'm doing on my screen as well as my voice. This board and several of our model boards have microphones on the front. So you would be able to record everything on the screen and your voice, and then you can save that file and drop it in that LMS or use it for later. So even if I go back to my home screen, you'll notice my screen recording is still happening. So I can even go into a different app and it's still going to record what I'm doing. So if I need to show something back and forth, I can easily toggle between my applications or my browsers, and it's still going to record everything I'm doing. Now, when I go to stop that recording, okay, I can now rename it. And then it's going to ask me, where do you want to save this? You'll see this image a lot, like what you're looking at right now. This is asking, where do you want to save files? How do you want to save them? This comes up regardless of whether it's a screen recording or you're just saving a PDF or maybe saving it as an image. You're going to see this over and over again. So you have options to save it to your Google Drive, whichever cloud drive you have linked, or you can save it to the board. You can also put in a flash drive and save it to a flash drive as well. That would come up as a USB drive right here. So you have lots of options of how to access these resources for later. So this is really the important part of, I mentioned earlier about linking those drives through your All My Stuff, your AMS account. This is really the biggest benefit to that, is to be able to directly share and save the resources you're working on with your students to your Google Drive to access later. Because as a reminder, I want to tell y'all, I do not currently have a computer hooked up to my board that I'm working on at the moment. Everything I'm doing is just built within the board. So a lot of you maybe have come from having projectors previously, or maybe another version of an interactive flat panel, but no longer are the days of having to have your computer set to something, extend the screen, drag it over, put it on your desk, come back to the whiteboard with the projector on it, because now you can utilize this as a standalone device without having to worry about what's on your computer or if your computer's connected and all of those things. So I just wanted to remind you, everything I'm doing so far does not require me to have my device currently connected.
Hey, Lauren.
So we have, oh, go ahead.
We'd have a question.
We have a question, and I don't want you to move on further because it's very specific to what you were showing. Angie's asking, can you show how to make the circle infinite clone like you have on the 10 frame that you had before?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm headed that way right now. So
okay,
good
perfect.
question. Good question. Thank you so much. So at the bottom, you'll see this is kind of our main menu here at the bottom that gives you all of your tools and your resources. So the very first one is a select tool. So if you want to select everything, you can group them together to make it one big object. So now I can move this entire problem all at once. I'm actually going to switch the color here to maybe make it a little bit easier to see.
Much better.
There we go. Okay, so that's what the select tool, you're selecting everything that you use your pen to use. Now, you'll notice earlier, I think I used my fingers to show you how it can write. The stylus can also be used, so I'll go back and forth. So a couple things about our pen tools, and this is just like a fun tip, but there is a couple of different modes here. So one question we get asked a lot is about changing the colors right here. So just FYI, there's a little artist right here, and then there's a plus sign. It's going to give you a color wheel, and you can actually build your own color palette to use. So if I want to have this color and save it, it's going to hold it there. And so now I'm writing with this color because I can build my own palette. But also, the boards, if your pen is two-sided, so there's a thin end and then there's a thick end. Not every model board has the exact same pen, but a lot of our pens function this way. You can actually select the dual pen mode, and I can pick two different colors. So maybe I want to write with blue, but I want to circle or underline in yellow. So what I did was I just turned the pen and used the other side. So now I can write a word in blue and I can underline in another color. So being able to use a couple colors. So just a fun thing I always like to share, because if I had had this when I was a teacher, it would have been so fun. Would have been such a game changer. Now, the icon with like the circle and the sticky note and the templates, that's where you're going to find your shapes. So I'm actually going to build a new page here. So I'm going to add a shape. I can add a shape multiple ways. I can select this shape icon and I can pick my shape. Okay, I'm going to change the color so y'all can see it. But I can also draw a shape. So if I know that I'm going to be using a circle, I can draw a circle. Okay, now I can select that circle and there's a little shape icon and it will turn it into the shape that I want. So it will easily recognize that. So if you don't want to have to go find a shape, you also have the option to draw the shape as well. And so now I can fill it in. Now, to make these, we've got a lot of options with our shapes and our objects, and you'll see there are similarities in a lot of these. So the little snowman menu, the 3-dot menu, looks very similar when you're working with images, objects, shapes, and you'll see there's lots of different options. You can change the layer of items, so you'll see the pink one is on top, but I can switch it around so that the yellow is on top. I can also easily duplicate by just clicking the plus sign and it's going to give me 2. But maybe I'm working with my students on counting and I want to say, I want my students to come and count out 5 yellow circles. I can click on that little snowman menu and there's an icon that has like the infinity logo, the infinity icon, and that's where it will make it clonable. So I'm going to select that infinity icon, and so now that symbol is right here, so I know that this is an infinity shape. So now I can say, count with me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so now I have my infinite shapes. And you can do this as well with text. So if you're working on words or vocabulary, things like that, and you want to have multiples of the same thing for different demonstrations, you have all of those options, and that snowman menu will appear for multiple text boxes, sticky notes, shapes, etc. Okay. In addition to our shapes here, so I'm going to get rid of our extra ones. I pointed out that you can draw a shape, and this is another fun feature that I just have to share as well. If you don't already know, you can handwrite a word on your board. You can use your select tool to select the whole thing, and you can click easy and it will turn it into text for you. Okay. You can also translate this text. So if I have some groups of students that I know are, maybe you've got some newcomers in your school, or you've got some students that English is their second language, I can write some notes, or I can write a vocabulary word. I can easily duplicate it with my plus sign, and now I can turn this into another language. So right now it's set to Spanish, but you can actually go in and select multiple languages, because you may have students that this would be a way to bring them into the learning and really help them build those connections between English and their language. So to do that, there's like a little A, that's your translate icon. And then if you hold it down, it will bring you the languages. And so now I can click download package, and now I can select from, I think it's about 40 languages. It does use Google Translate, so keep that in mind. Google Translate is not always perfect, but it's a lot closer than not having anything at all. This board specifically will also allow you to read. Oh, let me turn up the volume here.
Hello.
It will read it out loud as well. You can also change that system language to match your translate language as well. Not every board will read aloud, but you do have the translate option still, but this board will do the speech as well. You notice that I changed the background to make it a little bit easier for y'all to see. So in order to do that, there's like a little page icon next to the number of pages. So I started with 1 page today when y'all joined this call, and now I'm up to 7 different pages in my whiteboard. So this is really great because it's like an everlasting whiteboard. You don't have to worry about erasing things and bringing in new things and all of those problems. But these backgrounds here, this is where you can change the color. You can also, we have some pre-made backgrounds like lined paper, but we also have a more background option. And again, I want to point out, this is another reason having your accounts linked through that All My Stuff is so great, because we have a lot of built-in backgrounds. So there's some lined paper. It might be a little bit hard for y'all to see. There's some lined paper. I've got some sports backgrounds. I've got a KWL chart, so I'll put that one up so you can see. So now it's a background, and now I'm just ready to write my notes in this category. I can erase, and it's not going to erase the background. So it just puts it there on the back of the screen. But maybe you're working on something that's very specific to a current unit that you're working on, and you have a graphic organizer or a chart that you're going to be using in your units over and over. You can click the plus sign, the very first icon, and you can bring in your own background. So I'm actually going to remove one of my old ones. And by the way, the ones I have added, they will stay there. So you don't have to import it every single day. If you're working on US states, you don't have to import the state map every single day. It'll just remember that, and it'll just add to your list. So that's especially helpful for things that if you need the same background over and over again, the same graphic organizer, you've got that as an option. So again, you'll see that same window that you've seen before. It's asking me, where do I want to import a file? And I'm going into my Google Drive, and I'm going to bring in my state map. And so now it's in my background list, and I'm ready to make that my background. So when I tap on it, it's now my background. I can write directly on it. I can point to certain states, and it's ready to go. One thing to note about the backgrounds is that when you add a new page, it's going to just add another page with the same background that you had. It's assuming that you want the same thing. So to get it back to your default background, you just tap the very first color. That's kind of our like default white gray color. I'll put it back on a high contrast color to make it easy to see. So those are just a couple of the EZWrite features that I always like to point out, because sometimes the little things, they just go a really long way. But now I want to get to the big things that are really going to help with your instruction. So
Hey, Lauren,
yep.
before you move on, everybody was kind of interested in the snowman when you were duplicating. Would you mind kind of walking through that again, just a little slowly?
Sure. Let me add I'm going to add another shape. So I'm going to add a square. Okay. I've got several options above my object. So there's a menu here. I can change my colors. I can change the outline. So if I want the outline to be a different color, I can change the thickness of the line. So now you can see my outline a lot better. I also have the option to lock a shape. So if I'm going to have students come to the board, because that's where we really want to get to, we want students engaging with the content on the board. If I want my students to come up, but I don't want them to move this, I can click that lock symbol, and now they can't move the shape. So they can come up and they can write on it, but they can't move the shape itself. Now, because this is locked, if I go to erase all of the content on this page, it's going to erase everything that is not locked. To unlock it, you just hold down and release. So it'd help if I'm in select mode, and then click unlock. Okay, then we have your delete icon. The snowman menu is the 3 dots. So at the very end, it's kind of like if you're in a Chrome browser and you go into your additional settings, there's the 3 little dots. So you click on those 3 dots and it gives you another menu with more resources. So now you've got the layering resources. You can copy. So the one with the lines on it, I can copy. I can go to a new page, and there's a little clipboard down here. I can click on that clipboard, and now it's going to paste it on this page. And so now I can move it around. So just so y'all can see, I've got multiple pages here. This is the first one. This is the one that I just copied it to. Okay. Also in your menu, you've got duplicate. So the page that has like a plus sign on it, when I click that plus sign, it just duplicates the exact shape. This will also do the same thing. Like if I have a text, so I'm going to write the word hello, and I'm going to turn it into text. Okay, so now this is like in a text box. I still have that menu, that little 3 dots, and I still have all of those same resources. I can copy, I can duplicate, I can infinity clone it. So now I've got 1,000,000 hellos, however many I want. And then I can also hyperlink these as well. So the very last icon is to hyperlink. So if I want to hyperlink, maybe there's a video that I know in my head, I'm like, oh, there's this video on YouTube that's great about shapes. I wish I had it in here. You know what I can easily do? I can split my screen. There's a couple different ways that you can split your screen. And so now I can come over to YouTube, and I can search for I can search for shapes. So I'm going to do, oh, there we go. I'm going to pull up a shapes lesson. So now I can hold down and it's going to give me some options. All I did was tap long press. Okay, I'm going to copy the link. Now I'm going to come over here to my whiteboard and I'm going to click hyperlink. And now I'm going to paste that link. So now it's here. So now I'm back on my whiteboard. When I tap this link, it's going to open to, it's asking if I want permission to go to the video, but now it's going to open to the video. So again, I maybe forgot to prepare that video ahead of time, but I can easily go in and grab those resources. And by the way, I know I just ran through that very quickly. I am going to talk a little bit more about that before you get worried, but I just wanted you to know kind of why that hyperlink and how that would work if you were hyperlinking like a shape or a text box. So hopefully that clears up that little snowman menu. Were there any other questions about that?
That was great, Lauren.
Okay.
It did spark a few more questions. So
I'm
do
sure.
you think this is a good time for me to read those out to you?
Sure, absolutely.
So Nicole is saying, is there a fix for the newest firmware update coming out soon? Our teachers are having lots of issues right now. They love their board, but they are really struggling right now.
Yes. So we have a lot of things in the work on the background right now. So I understand your concern and your question, and I want you to know that our people are working very actively to make sure that those issues do get addressed. But if you have a specific issue or specific need, please feel free. I don't know if my email was posted yet, but somebody can put that in the chat. You can email us and make sure that, we do have some things that are similar across the board that are being handled, but we definitely want to make sure it's not kind of like an odd standalone issue. But yes, we do have some firmware fixes. We've got some other things in the works in the background as well.
Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and put Lauren, your email address in the chat for everyone. Sure. There is one more question. Many students, by Wendy, many students can't read cursive anymore. Can you have it automatically change to print text as you are writing?
So it won't automatically do it, but also I happen to write in cursive, but you can just write in not cursive as well. So it won't automatically change it as I'm writing. You do have to select whatever you want done in order to make that happen. So whether you've written it in cursive or not, you do have to tell it that you want to make that change.
Got it.
Yeah, not automatic, sorry. Any other questions?
That's it, Brown. Keep going.
Okay. All right, perfect. So we're going to keep going. And I apologize. I didn't really mean to spend this much time in EZWrite, but it's just so good. And this is where, you as teachers and those of you that support teachers, this is where we spend a bulk of the time. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is being able to import your documents. So again, earlier I mentioned about how important it is to be able to just use what you already have. And so if you have lesson plans and you have worksheets and you've got PDF files, you have all these resources on your computer, by having them in your cloud drive or putting them on a flash drive and adding them to the board, you can easily access those resources within EZWrite. That just gives you a lot of more options for how you want to kind of use the resources. So for example, the icon at the bottom that has like a picture and then a notebook paper, this is your import icon that you can import an image, you can import documents, so PDFs, Word docs, PowerPoints. You can also import from an EZWrite file. So earlier when you saw my 10 frame lesson, I imported that entire lesson. There were actually 4 pages on that lesson. But maybe I only need page 3 from that lesson, not the whole thing. I can import just part of a lesson or a whole lesson if I choose. I can also import a video file. So maybe I screen recorded modeling how to do a certain skill. And so instead of me having to take the time to go back through it when I'm teaching again, I can play that on the board. I can go pull a small group. And so I'm able to import a video file as well as an audio file. You can bring in a hyperlink as well as YouTube videos. So if you bring in a YouTube video from this YouTube icon, it will take away the ads instead of opening it in YouTube where it will play the ads. This one, there will be no ads when you play it that way. The only caveat with that is it will take up the whole screen. So you can't have like a video playing on half the screen and be taking notes at the same time if you import it this way. So let me show you what this import process looks like. So if I want to import a PDF, because I've already got a worksheet that I know my students are going to be working on, I'm going to go into my Drive and I'm going to pull in my, my lesson that I want to use that day. This is a 3-page PDF, so it asks me right away, which pages do I want to bring in? All 3 of them, it defaults to select everything, but if I only need 1 or 2 pages, so I don't need the 3rd page, I'm going to say I just want these 2 pages, and I'm going to import them. It's going to put them as a background now. So now I'm ready to write notes directly on this worksheet, and it added the next page, the 2nd page here. Now this is a little bit small, so you are able to zoom in. Oh, let me put it on select mode. Okay, you can zoom in a little bit here. And then this is something that now you can annotate directly on the document. So if you're modeling how to do this and your students are following along or they're doing it with you, you can now write directly on here because it saves it as a background. But you do have some options, or it saves it as a locked object, I'm sorry. So you have a couple options here. Maybe I want, you know how I brought in 2 pages? I might want them side by side. I can actually hold down on the object and unlock it. And so now I can actually take this, I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go to my other page. And now I'm going to use that clipboard icon and paste it here. Ooh. Okay. So now I'm pasting it right here. So now I can have things side by side. So I've got both pages side by side. And so now I can work this way. I also have room on the sides. I can make some notes, you know, off to the side. If I want some feedback or if I want students to come up and annotate or make notes. So being able to import your documents and then write directly on them. Or you can keep them separate as well. So the same thing goes for like slides. If you have a PowerPoint, it's going to import the same way. It's going to ask you, which slides do you want to import? All of them or just some of them? And then it will put one on each page as you go through. So it's really a great resource if you want to be able to annotate directly on them, especially having students come up, highlight things, underline things, annotate, make notes. It's a great resource to have. Now, if you're primarily using Google Slides, then the Google app on this board, just use the Google app is the best way to kind of use those slides. But if you want to annotate your Google Slides because maybe you've got things like this in there, then just download it as a PDF and import it that way. So a couple options to get what you want, but it's really just about kind of making it yours. That's why we always say teach your way. It's really about finding that groove of what works easily for you. Okay, now while I'm on this document, I do also want to show you something, and then I'll come back for questions about this. But in using my AMS or my file manager, I can also open that same file directly from AMS. And the reason I might want to do this is because I can actually edit the document itself. So previously, I imported a document to EZWrite, and then I was annotating on it. Well, this, I can actually edit the PDF, and then I can save it. So if I want it to be a little bigger, so now you can see it a lot bigger, there's a little edit icon. And so now I can go in, I can zoom in. Now I have some tools off to the side. So now I can write my notes. And when I'm scrolling, those notes are going to stay. And so maybe I know that I'm going to want my students to come back and reference this, or I want to leave it for a sub, or there's remediation or extension. I've got options. I can click save copy and it's going to save it now with my edits. So we do get a lot of questions about kind of being able to kind of edit and scroll and things. So this is a way that you can do that. And I just opened it directly from the AMS files or the file manager app. That's how I did that. It'll prompt you, do you want to download it or preview it? And just click download and then it'll open that way. Okay. So this process is the same for anything that you import. Now, if I wanted to import an image, okay, it's only going to show me the files that I'm able to import. So when I come in, I'm not going to see, like, I only see a few things now. I don't see this lesson anymore because that's a PDF. So it's only going to show you the file type you're trying to import. So if you say, man, I'm looking for this picture of a graphic organizer, it might be that it's in PDF form, not image. So you need to go in and import it as a PDF or save it as an image. So now I can bring in an image and I can import that. In this case, it's very not instructionally involved. This is just a picture of my dog because she likes to also participate in BenQ training. So don't want to leave her out. So now I can import that image and I still have all of my options here. So remember I mentioned about with objects and shapes, with images as well, I have that menu where I can copy, I can duplicate, I can make infinite images of Pepper, or I can hyperlink as well. So the process is very similar for everything that you do. We want it to be easy every time you go in to access your resources and use those resources. And then this is a great way to get those students up to the board because maybe they've done this on their own as a bell ringer, and now you get to have those students come to the board and be able to kind of share what they did or model what they did up here because you were able to easily access those resources. What questions do we have about importing resources?
Lauren, not importing, but it is whiteboard related. I have two people, Dorothy and Paul, having the same question regarding whiteboarding. It's when I'm using the whiteboard to write, the board will lock up and not continue to work. I have to go out of pen mode and into text and then back to pen mode to unlock it. Are other teachers having this problem? Will the update fix this problem, or do you have a fix for it right now?
So a couple things, I want to speak to that really quickly because this is a tip that I'll show everyone. So sometimes if something locks up like that or it seems glitchy, which is of course a very technical term, one thing you can always go in and check is if you have app updates. So the application icon in the bottom of the screen, when you go into the apps, there's something called the BenQ App Store. And the BenQ App Store is on all of our boards. So when I click on the BenQ App Store, there are some apps that are pre-built here. So we've got some content here that these learning games are just interactive learning activities. So you don't have to log in or anything like that. We do have some partnerships like with CurryPod and Magic School, so you can access those apps from here, which is especially great for the boards that don't have the Google Play Store. You can access those apps here. But what I really want to point out, on the left-hand side, there's like a folder with a down arrow. So when I click on that, it's going to show me my update center. There's a really good chance that your EZWrite needs to be updated. Or your Easy Tools needs to be updated. So that's always my first suggestion, is to come into your update center and make sure that everything is updated. Because if you have a lot of apps hanging out here and they're trying to update, it can kind of hang the board up a little bit. It's like having a phone. Whenever you have to update your apps on the phone, the entire phone doesn't necessarily need to be updated, but some of those apps might be slowing other things down. So you can always come into the BenQ store, click on the folder with the down arrow, and then update all of your apps. So I would recommend starting there. And then I will refer back to my email of if that doesn't work, please send us an email so that we can make sure that that's not, because I have not heard of that happening widespread or anything like that. This is the first I'm hearing of it. So I do want you to go ahead and let me know if you check here and that doesn't seem to help. If you've rebooted the board, all those things, please send us an email and we'll double check that everything's working the way it should be.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
Nothing.
That's all we have for right now.
All right. Another thing I want to show you in EZWrite, this is one of the last things I'll show you. And to be honest, this isn't even, I mean, EZWrite, I could talk on it for days and days and days, but I really wanted to make sure to show y'all some resources that can make it easier in the classroom, save you some time, get the kids excited, get them learning. So 2 things I want to point out. One is our toolbox. So if you already have a board, you probably have seen this. So we have lots of tools built into our EZWrite software. So we've got some math tools. We do have some tools like our timer that have an option to kind of minimize into a floating window. So I can actually start my timer. I can click my minimize. It's going to go up to the front corner. I can move it around as I need. That timer is going to keep going even if I go to my home screen. So it's still going even though I'm not in EZWrite anymore. So that is the same for a lot of those tools in our toolbox. So we also have like a spinner, so you can spin for a group. Same thing, I can minimize it. It's going to go up there, and now it's going to show me, oh, group 2 has been selected. Also, a few others I want to point out. This is our team post. If you haven't seen this, this is a great one. I taught 6th grade for a little bit, and one thing, like, teaching them was like pulling teeth. But whenever I made anything a competition, I mean, those kids, like they would fight. So if I had this to be able to get kids up and moving and have a little bit of competition, it would have been such a game changer. So what Team Post does is it splits the board into 3 workspaces. So now I can have 3 students come up to the board. They can each select a color, and now they can simultaneously work, but they can't cross into each other's zones. Okay, so if there we go, make it a little bit easier to see. So you can see I was able to write simultaneously. Okay, I can erase, I can write while I'm erasing. So multiple kids can be working at the same time. But what is really great about this is the teachers can actually set a question to each learning space. So I can set a question. Let's see. I want to see 3 different ways of solving 3 times 3. I'm going to set it. It's going to go on all 3 of my workspaces. So now my students can come up to the board. They can show their work. If they erase it, they can write on top of the question, but when they erase, the question will not go away. And so then they all get it right. Great, we move on. The teacher calls another set of kids up. They get it wrong, then we just minimize it, and now it's a little floating widget, and so now I can go back and reteach because apparently I didn't do a good enough job the first time around. So that's a really fun one that the kids, every time I go into schools and the kids are doing the team post, like everyone, they were just having so much fun. Even the middle schoolers, they just have a great time being able to get up and go to the board and to be able to work with all of those resources. The last thing I want to point out in EZWrite, and I want y'all to know we have BenQ Academy that has a lot of like videos, short videos, tips and tricks about the different features available on the board. So if you want to go in and learn more about EZWrite, you can go look those things up, even though I've talked a lot about EZWrite. The last thing I want to show you here is cloud whiteboarding. So cloud whiteboarding allows you to share what you're doing on your screen to your students' devices. So if you have, this is great if you have like a flex classroom where you've got students that are learning at home and you've got still students some in the classroom, or you've got students in the back of the room, they just can't see the screen very well. You can actually drop this directly into Google Classroom, or you can start a cloud whiteboard with a QR code. Students can scan with their iPads or their Chromebooks, but you can also take the link and you can share it to your students as well. When this happens, what is happening is you're sending not the entire board, but you're sending your EZWrite lesson to the student devices. So when I go to page 2, it's going to go to page 2 on my student device. And they can just view that. So I'm going to have a little list here of all of the students that are in my classroom that have joined this cloud whiteboard, and it defaults them to viewing it only. But I do have the option of turning on their edit mode. And so now I can say, all right, Johnny, I want you to grab 3 blue circles and move them over. And so now I can turn on Johnny's editing rights, and now Johnny can move those 3 circles over into the 10 frames. And so just really getting them involved and engaged in the learning, cloud whiteboarding is a great way to do that. And then you can obviously immediately turn that right off. There's like a little pencil. On the student devices, they're looking at they see exactly this. They see exactly what you see, but they do have a little option to like raise their hand. So when you have the participants that are here, it'll have a little hand raised because maybe Johnny has a question. And so I can see it in the middle of my lesson that he raised his hand. And now I can say, oh, Johnny, what was your question about this? So that is our cloud whiteboarding, a great way to get students really engaged and involved in that learning. Okay. And then the last few, oh, go ahead.
Hey, Lauren, I have Jordan. He is a IT admin for a district. He is evaluating boards, and he had a question and was wondering if you would have time right now to demo something real quick about the apps that you were talking about, updating them. So his question was, give me 1 second. Where's this?
Was it mentioning updates?
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. I'm trying to find the original. There it go. Okay. We're just starting to look at IAPs. So we don't have any yet, just trying to get information on the different manufacturers. Is there a demo webinar on the tech side for these panels instead of the instructional side? Thank you. Well, Jordan,
yeah, we can absolutely set that up. So I'm actually coming to you from our studio where we create videos. We do online demos, we do tech trainings, teacher trainings, all of those things. So yes, if you'll reach out to either me, I think I saw Sheldon in the chat, Francisco, I don't know if he's on the chat right now, but we have a whole team of people that can reach out and schedule an online demo for you to be able to see those things.
And then I have one more question from Patricia. Do the student devices need to be on the same network as the BenQ board in order to be able to send the whiteboard to their devices? Is
they do not. So that is the case for InstaShare. However, in cloud whiteboarding, it does not require them to download any software. It doesn't require them to be on the same network. They just need the link or to be able to type in the link, and they get given a code, and then they just log in with the code. So they don't need anything additional on their devices, just a browser to access that website. Great question.
One more. Part 2 for that question is cloud whiteboarding available on all models of RP boards?
It is, yes, it is available on all of the boards that have EZWrite 6. So okay. Most of the boards that are probably present today, yes, it would work. But if you have any issues, if you try it out, I used to always grab like my, easy kids to work with that were willing to like learn with me. So you can always try it out with a couple kids before like, hey class, we're going to go into all of this together. You could try it out. And if something doesn't work or you have any issues, just reach out to us and we'll help you navigate those issues.
And Sharon Drizel wanted to know, how does it send out the link for the cloud whiteboard? So
it shows you the link when you have like the QR code. The link is right here. So I would recommend like copying that link and then dropping it in so if you have like, if you have Google Classroom, you can just click Google Classroom, the link goes straight to your Google Classroom. You just select which class. But if you have like Schoology or Canvas, you can always open those on the board, copy the link, drop it in your LMS for easy access. If you've got younger students where it's hard for them to type in the huge link, you could do it that way. You could just open up your learning management system in a browser and drop it in that way and have those things open at the same time, would be my best recommendation.
And there's one more question from Edwin. Mm-hmm. I'd like to suggest that, or is it a question or information? Hang on, let me read this thing. I'd like to suggest that BenQ Academy makes the EZWrite 6 Teacher's Guide document available. Yeah, that's a great idea. I will try to go ahead and include that with our recording link that we send out.
Yeah, that would be great.
And make sure that you guys have the link for the EZWrite Teacher's Guide. Great suggestion. We'll definitely take you up on that.
Okay. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about in our last few minutes here, sorry if I've talked your ears off, but the last thing I want to point out is our InstaShare. So that was actually just mentioned about, do you have to be on the same network with cloud whiteboarding? You don't, but if you InstaShare, so again, everything I've done today, accessing all of my resources, going to being in my Chrome browser, having all of these resources, I didn't need my computer for any of this, okay? But if I want to send my computer to the board, I do still have that option. So I'm just going to grab my computer very quickly, and I'm going to show you just brief how InstaShare, how easy it is for you to be able to. What was that?
It just shorted out for a second. Keep going. You're clean
okay.
now.
All right, so you open the InstaShare 2 app on the board. We did just have a recent update. So those of you that it hasn't been pushed out yet, you can go to that update center. It most likely is there. So it does look a little bit different, but it still functions the same way. You would need the InstaShare app on your computer, the InstaShare software, and then you can also download the InstaShare app on like your tablet from the Play Store or the Apple Store. So you also have the option, and this is in our new update, which is really great, is sharing without the app. So if you don't have the InstaShare software on your computer or something happens, it's not easy, you can also natively cast to the board, but our newest feature is webcasting. Webcasting allows you to cast from the computer using a web browser. The only thing I'm going to tell you about that right now is that you have to enable it. So right now you'll see it on my board that it's grayed out. So there's a little thing called the InstaShare host controls right down here. It's a square. I'm going to go into my settings, and I'm going to scroll down to my native casting, and I'm going to turn on webcasting. So now in my webcasting, it tells me to go to a browser, and they type in this session ID. It does not require you to be on the same network. So somebody right now could go to this website and type in this code, and you would be showing, you have the option to share to my screen. Now I can also control that. So I can also utilize my settings to confirm before devices share content, because maybe I don't want somebody sharing right now. And sometimes that happens on accident. A teacher next door accidentally types in the wrong pairing code, or they click the wrong board. You can prevent that from happening by clicking confirm before devices share content, and a little message pops up that says Lauren wants to share to your screen, allow or deny. And so you can, you do have the option to control that as well. I'm going to show you two quick things because we only have 1 minute left. So you've got a lot of options with InstaShare, but the one I'm going to point out is you can send your computer to the board, which is mirroring my device, and by using the app, so see this message, Lauren wants to share her screen because I turned that on. Now you're looking at my computer screen. Well, the nice thing is I don't need my computer anymore. I can set it on my desk, and I can actually run everything from the board. So using the app provides that full touchback. So now I can open a document on my computer. I can put it in a floating window. And so now maybe I want to have EZWrite open at the same time that I have my floating window, because we're going to focus on this, and I want to be able to write at the same time. So I've got some options there, and I still have full touchback in my computer here. And then the other thing I want to show you is that I can actually send the board to my device. So all those times that you feel stuck in the front of the classroom, and again, we want these boards to help you get out of all of those feelings of being stuck to your device or stuck to the board, you can actually send the board to your device instead. And so now I'm actually going to go stand behind the camera real quick. I can actually come behind the camera, and so now you'll see I'm opening things on the board. and I don't have to be at the board. And maybe I'm in the back of the room looking at all my student devices because they're facing the board. A student is up here at the board running things. You still have full touchback and being able to control the board from the device. It doesn't have to be one or the other. So just another fun tip about getting kind of away from feeling that tethered somewhere. You get to set up, kind of make it all your way. And that's kind of our big tagline there. So that's just the last thing. Again, I'm sure there's probably questions about that because I want to honor y'all's time. And I know that we talked about a lot, but if you have questions, I'm happy to stay on and answer some questions. And then I'm sure Maddie will include, we also have an InstaShare guide that she can send out as well. And then y'all have my email. So any other questions that you think of later, but hopefully this sparked a few new ideas for how you can use these in the classrooms or how you can tell your teachers to use it in the classrooms. And then let us know what you need.
So Lauren, appreciate that you're willing to stay after, even though the time is up, to answer some more questions. That's great. For the rest of you, if you do not have any questions you are welcome to leave. We will make sure that once we've compiled the recording for this webinar, we will be sending that out later this week in an email form with a link, and we will also make sure we attach our EZWrite Teacher's Guide to it for you guys. Other than that, we appreciate you taking your time out and attending our webinar. We were really happy that you were super engaged and asked all the questions. Great questions, by the way. So if you are done for the time, you are welcome to leave. And I know a few of you had questions, so I'm going to point them out to Lauren and see if she can quickly answer them. Thank you. All right, let me find, I think there were a few questions, Lauren, give me just 1 second. Some of them I know Sheldon was kind enough to answer.
Thank you, Sheldon.
The one that I really was getting questions from were Jordan. If someone could reach out for more information on the IT admin side. Jordan, did you want to ask your question right now? We can unmute you so that you'd be able to ask those questions directly right now, or if you prefer, we can get somebody to reach out and schedule a time to do that with you. I can find Jordan and unmute him.
Separate time would be great. Separate time.
Okay, we will get Lauren or Sheldon to reach out to you, Jordan, and give you some options for meeting times, and we can go from there. Awesome. I don't believe I see any other questions that weren't answered. Let me just make sure.
Can InstaShare 2 webcasting be used without devices using the same network? Did we answer that one?
Yep.
Okay. I think that might be it then.
Taylor, we've tried casting between PC and display before and had connectivity and lag issues. Are there speed/resolution limitations? Would certainly prefer to not use video USB cabling over HDBT, an extender or receiver. Could you possibly loan us one to test? I'm not quite sure what that question.
Okay, we'll probably have to reach back out about that one.
Okay,
Yeah.
So that's Jay Keller. Jay, we'll get Lauren or Sheldon reach out to you for that specific question.
Okay.
Rosemary, I saw your message that you said that you came in late. We are recording. We have recorded the entire webinar, and we will make sure that the recording will be going out later this week to all the attendees. So you'll have a way to go back and listen to all of it. And I think that's all I see. Everybody seems to have enjoyed what you had to share.
Perfect. Lauren,
Thanks
thank
so
you.
much.
We appreciate your time. It was an excellent demo. And let me just grab it back here so I can put a proper bow on this. If you're still out there, we appreciate your time. Have a safe spring break. If you travel anywhere, and we'll see you next month in April. We appreciate your attendance. Thank you very, very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Lauren.
Yep. Bye.